Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome to Atari A to Z, an exploration of the Atari 8-bits library of games, some of which I grew up with and some of which are new to me. Today is one of the latter. This is Henri by a guy called Billyard, who is better known for his later works like Elektra and Suey for English software. This game, which apparently fits in 6K, is an unashamed rip-off of Mr. Do. Billyard makes no attempts to hide that. And it basically paid for his airfare one summer. So yeah, there is no other reason that this exists other than just to make a bit of money. So if you think software developers and publishers these days are all about the money grabbing, then you know it happened back in 1984 as well. So let's take a look at this game. This actually isn't a complete Mr. Do ripoff. In that you can't finish the screen just by collecting all the things. You have to actually kill all the enemies as well. So in that sense, it's kind of like a cross between Mr. Do and Dig Dug. Both of which were very similar games. But you see, as in Mr. Do, if you manage to collect all of the items in a formation in one move, then you get some bonus points as well. And you also have this ball that you can throw to kill the enemies. And it takes a little time for that to regenerate. You can tell when you've got it back because Henri's sprite will change from grey to white. There's also these anvils scattered around the place. I don't actually know what these are for because... Oh dear. Because in games like Dig Dug and Mr. Do, you would dig underneath something heavy to drop it onto the heads of enemies. But they don't seem to do anything in this. I don't know if that's intentional or if it's just a something that Mr. Billyard left out of his homage to Mr. Do. Either way, the only way to kill the enemies then is by using your balls. And you'll see, like in Dig Dug, you get points for actually digging out squares of dirt as well. So, although you don't actually slow down while you're moving through the dirt, so that's one slight difference from those mechanics. All right, on to the second level. And again, if we can grab all those in one combo, we get a bonus 500 points for each formation, which is nice. Not quite sure what the enemies are supposed to be. Birds or bats or something like that, I guess. They want you dead, regardless. Like in Mr. Do, your ball can be a little bit unpredictable if you've dug out a lot of the dirt, so it's in your interest to try and keep your tunnels as organised as you possibly can, because otherwise you'll find yourself having to well, you've seen what happens. Never quite sure which way it's going to go if it's a complicated tunnel system. Oops. Death. Alright, let's have another go at that. Now we're getting a feel for it. I think the anvils might just be there to get in your way, to be honest. Rather than anything especially strategic. Yeah, if you've never played Mr. Do, the Atari 8-bit actually had a very competent port of that. Well worth checking out if you have the chance. I wouldn't go so far as to say it was arcade perfect or anything, but it was certainly a pretty good recreation of the experience of playing that arcade version. And then there were a few spin-offs along the way as well. There was Mr. Do's Castle, which is, well, no, I don't think was that well received back in the day, but it's a game I always enjoyed and got some fond memories of, so... You know, that's the important thing when it comes to nostalgia, is what you think about it. This game, though, I've never come across before. I have played a number of Adam Billyard's other games, though, so like I'm familiar with Elektra and Chop Suey, for example. I was never any good at Chop Suey, or Elektra for that matter, but they were both very impressive games on the Atari 8-bit. This is obviously not his best work, because of the reasons... Oh, dear. Because of the reasons we've already described. Go away. Leave me alone. No. Oh, heroic escape there. Yeah. So this is obviously not Adam Billyard's greatest work that he ever put out on the Atari 8-bit, but he wasn't trying to be or anything. He wasn't trying to be technically impressive. He was just trying to do a competent game to make some money, and he's achieved that. It's a competent enough Mr. Do clone. This is also a good example of what tended to go on with music and sound effects in the Atari 8-bit era, which is rather than people composing their own music, which would take time and effort that programmers didn't necessarily have, because a lot of these games were developed by just single individuals. They would take existing compositions, so in this case it's a Bach Invention, I believe, and just adapt that to the Atari sound chip in various ways. So with a lot of these 80s games on the Atari 8-bit, it's not at all uncommon to hear a classical soundtrack, or just a single classical piece in the case of this one. I mean, it does the job. But it's obviously not a patch on what some of the maestros like Adam Gilmour and Rob Hubbard were capable of getting out of that old pokey chip. So, oh no! That sound I really like. That's quite a common sound effect that's used. I always associate it very much with the game Alley Cat, as I think that's probably the first game where I heard it. And it's a sound used where the cat is swimming in a goldfish bowl to try and catch the fish. Ah, that's the end of that. Alright, so that was Henri by, what do we say? Adam Billyard. Yes, that's it. Okay, hope you enjoyed seeing that. Like I say, not the greatest game ever, but if you enjoy Mr. Do and Dig Dug, then it might be worth checking out for a bit. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.